The most evil organization bent on taking over the world is led by the wisest Lieutenant Shun Miller, a man who would burn down whole villages without hesitation. The only one on the side of good foolish enough to stand in his way is the magical girl, Glass Happiness. And on their very first confrontation, he falls in love with her? No. This can't be. Buying her various gifts? Spending time alone with her? This is not befitting that of an evil lieutenant. How can the bad guys rule with world domination when their leader is in love with the opposing force that would stop it? Find out in the comical enemies to lover tale of the magical girl and the evil lieutenant used to be archenemies. So let's get started and watch the story unfold. A young girl working as a cashier deals with some mild nagging with a customer too lazy to give his ID for the beer he's buying, when suddenly an intense shaking rocks the convenience store. The girl runs outside to a giant dragon in the middle of the city, breathing intense flames, causing the people to run in hysteria. A small cat with a manly voice tells Byakuya Mimori it's time to go to work, and we learn she's no ordinary girl as she ascends the starry steps, transforming into the magical girl Glass Happiness. She eliminates the dragon in a single strike, shattering the beast into starry lights. And approaching the man who summoned the beast, she tells him,
"This is as far as you go, Mr. Evil Lieutenant. I will not let you have your way."
With one look, the evil lieutenant, Shun Miller's glasses shatter. It was like her beauty made time slower for him. Could this be love at first sight? In the aftermath, all of his associates from the evil organization asked why he failed to suppress the magical girl. However, he assured them there was no need for concern, because arrangements for the next ground invasion were already in motion. He guaranteed the king of evil would receive news of his success coming soon. Confronting the magical girl again on a rainy day, Mira proclaimed, "You stood in our way the other day, magical girl. So today, you're in for a present." Then handing her a chiffon cake as he covered her with an umbrella from the rain. She noticed his shoulder getting wet, and even though he said he was fine, they moved somewhere under cover to enjoy the treat. Accepting the cake, she told Mira,
"You have a big heart, Mr. Lieutenant."
He grabbed at his chest, wondering what this pulsating feeling was. You see, Mira was born to an elite evil family, worked his way up the elite evil ladder, got an elite evil job, and now is the elite evil right-hand man to the king of evil. But now all of that and his elite evil life was totally derailed. Ever since the two met, he felt something's become wrong with him. He continued to monologue on the sophistry of being an evil lieutenant in his head, completely ignoring Glass calling out to him, until the moment she places her forehead on his, saying,
"Mr. Lieutenant, your forehead does feel warm."
But no, it wasn't just his head. His whole body was on fire as he dramatically fell to the ground. Glass quite enjoyed the chiffon cake, disregarding the fact that Mira was an evil lieutenant, because she believed he wouldn't do anything to hurt her. And even if he did poison the cake, she'd have to eat something eventually, as she only drank water for the past week. A surprising revelation to Mira. It all started when Glass started living alone once she graduated from middle school. Now she works a part-time job, lends a hand at a care facility, and works as a magical girl. She often forgets to eat when she's busy, but thinks of that as saving money. Even if her stomach is empty, her heart is full. Mira understood, but reminded Glass not to neglect her health, with the excuse being it would hurt the organization's reputation if he beat her while she was weak. She told him he was very kind, but for him it was a matter of pride, which is why he wanted to send her a year's worth of rice. Oh man, he's down bad. The lieutenant returned to his room to decompress, but thinking about how Glass put her forehead on his, he continually slammed his head into the couch. He tried to remind himself of his purpose as a lieutenant of evil, but somehow found himself buying cheesecake popular with women. This was the day he was gonna knock out Glass, with the taste of a no-bake cheesecake, of course. However, Glass fell over, shaking. As Mira picked her up, we learned she didn't have time to sleep because she desperately needed money. When a land shark took the facility she grew up in, a strange cat had appeared asking if she needed money, slapping her, telling her she could become a magical girl and save the world while selling herself. But afterwards, she found out the cat was in on the scheme with the land shark the entire time. Mira told her to give up on being a magical girl, since it didn't seem like she wanted to fight. But in response, Glass told him,
I won't give up. Nothing changes the fact that someone has to do this job. And I got to see you.
Witnessing her cute expressions, Mira began pounding a tree. He just couldn't take it. Glass was way too cute. He was willing to spend it all on her with his black card. Back in his office, he questioned if Glass was toying with him. He tried to remind himself of all the days he spent doing atrocities as the evil king's right-hand man. However, seeing an advertisement for a fruit tart popular with women, he just had to place an order for the girl he loved. There was a lot of data missing on Glass happiness, so Mira was determined to straighten this out. By downloading the hidden footage of her, one of his lackeys suddenly came in with tea, making him slam his laptop intensely so as not to expose him getting lost in Glass's images. When the lackey proposed assisting in the capture of the magical girl, Mira denied it, declaring the task of taking down Glass was his alone. Later, we find Mira taking an imposing stance against a chef in a back alleyway. He quickly pulled out his black card, and we find out he hassled the chef out back for a limited time dream pudding that everyone else was waiting in line for. With Glass running in late to their park meeting, she apologized since she couldn't get work off. Seeing that she enjoyed the pudding, Mira blushed over her cuteness. He asked how many jobs she had, and seeing her count using almost all her fingers, he was flabbergasted. Many of them were one-time gigs though, and hearing her work at the convenience store was challenging. Mira asked her to give him a work impression.
Would you like your bento warmed up?
Warm it for me, please! He shouted in excitement, shattering the teapot with his hands. Glass forgot she was still in uniform, so with Mira prompting her to put on her formidable outfit, she got right to it, transforming beautifully and descending from a star in the sky. He was in awe as she landed. However, he'd prefer she do it one more time for the camera. With Mira drinking his tea, Glass noticed a burn on his sleeve, and she offered to mend it. He dropped his teacup, shaking in nervousness because it was just like they were a married couple. He tried to tell her it was alright, but she reassured him she could do it quickly and that she was good at it, causing him to crush the teapot again, thinking he'd do anything for this lovely lady. While mending the coat, she mentions she's mended all her old clothes since they could still be worn as loungewear. So, Mira pulled out the black card, offering to take her shopping. Even though with all the work she does, she should be able to afford new clothes. This is when we learn her familiar, the cat that turned her into a magical girl, looks after all the money she earned. He manages her assets and finds job openings for her. He even made jobs getting easier with these business cards. Taking a card, Mira reads it describing night massage at your service, magical girl heaven, her magical girl name, and let's make the best memories tonight, which Mira immediately tells her to destroy. The night massages displease him deeply. She's accepted her role though, having taken on the name Glass Happiness, since happiness can be fragile as glass. But she didn't think being a magical girl was all bad, thanks to Mira's kindness. She blushed, handing the coat to Mira, thanking him for everything. Squeezing it shaking, he denied the kindness accusation, once again excusing it as pride. Returning to base, the lackeys welcomed their revered evil lieutenant, who was known for his unparalleled cruelty, obscured behind his glasses, devoid of emotion, but with a flower stitched into his sleeve? He turned, striking fear into all of them. Alone, he began thinking he was setting a poor example for his subordinates, but quickly tried to shake it off to remind himself he was the embodiment of evil. The next day, he and his lackeys attacked the city with slimes, causing destruction everywhere. He observed his completed work on his tablet until getting a shot of Glass, who was completely entangled. As Glass was struggling in a compromising position, Mira shot an intense flame at the big slime boss, obliterating it, catching Glass and bringing her down safely. He could hardly believe she'd be taken advantage of by such a low-grade monster. Coughing, she uttered,
I'm sorry.
which absolutely melted Mira's heart. Without even thinking, he went and saved her. Placing his coat onto her, he still questioned what was wrong with him. He told her to wear it and head home, and she responded,
Your clothes are so big and warm.
making him freak out and squeeze slimes to calm down. Was this a tactic to take his will to fight? Because it was working. She thanked him for walking her home, and for the jacket. She knew he said he was going to buy a new one, but even having multiple jackets at his base, he just didn't feel the need to replace this one yet. She gasped, remarking him to be truly kind, and the two gave each other sweet goodbyes, knowing they'd see each other soon. Meeting once again with his cohorts, the man once known as the wisest of the evil army, Mira, is questioned on his continual struggle to subjugate the magical girl. Speaking confidently, he apologizes for causing concern, assuring them everything is going according to plan and on schedule. He then suddenly gets an urgent phone call for his preparations, which instills confidence into the other lieutenants, who just couldn't imagine Mira being ruled by his emotions. His reputation as being the brilliant and ruthless mind of the Empire. But little did they know, he was ordering an aged A5 Yonezawa Chateaubriand steak for his beloved magical girl.
Thank you. I've never been gifted a bouquet of roses before. And not to copy you, but I also brought you a present today.
Glass presented Mira a fake flower, since she had been making a lot for her side hustles. Mira then scolded her, still concerned she was working too hard. Staring with her eyes gleaming, Glass reflected on her experience with Mira.
Mr. Lieutenant is really kind. Ever since I met him, he's always been concerned about me. Sometimes he's kind, and other times he's harsh. It's hard to believe he'd be part of an evil empire. It's hard to believe he's not human too. I don't know why he reacts the way he does. Maybe it's because we're different. Can I see you again tomorrow, Mr. Lieutenant?
Having slammed down another beer, the cat familiar demanded Glass get him another one. She agreed, but peering at his monitor, she was distraught to learn he was selling footage of her defilement by the slimes. With Mira accepting a drink offer from one of his cohorts at a hostess club, he exuded a deep sigh, thinking about how clear it was the so-called familiar was taking advantage of Glass. If it continued, he was certain she'd wear herself out. As his hostess came to sit next to him, he was lost in thought, and oh, it was Glass who seemed really depressed. Mira tried to assure her he wasn't here because he wanted to be. However, things took a serious turn when tears started welling up in Glass's eyes. Outside, she continued to sob as Mira wiped her eyes. He told her to take her time, to talk to him when she's ready. Shaking between every word, she told him there was an erotic video of her being sold. And man, Mira did not take this well. His pressure shook the ground with his desire to make whoever was hurting Glass repent for their sins in a sea of blood. While the familiar reviewed the indecent tape, Mira appeared, setting the computer ablaze in fury. He was sick of the cat working her unnecessarily and living off of her earnings. The cat denied any wrongdoings. However, Mira accused him of not being a familiar at all, but instead, a man in a cat costume. The cat told Mira this was none of his business. Whatever glory and money Glass earned, even her body, the cat claimed it all belonged to him. But as the familiar let off a disgusting laugh, Mira quickly sliced his head off. After finishing the deed, Glass thanked him and offered him dinner, taking Mira aback enough to snap his phone in half for her home cooking. With their meal finished, Glass commented on how she was glad he enjoyed the meal, since she's only ever seen him drink things. She was concerned he perhaps didn't like to eat. For Mira, though, he tended to only eat when he wasn't on the job, particularly enjoying sweets when he was tired, since that was when his mother had always made him some in his childhood. But now looking back at Glass's soft smile, he remembered she's been living alone since middle school. She explained at the care facility she grew up in, there was a bakery nearby that gave her and the other kids bread crusts to snack on, and this moved Mira, making him ready to max out his bank account for her. Having returned back to the org, Mira felt he needed to settle things with her tomorrow. That's when his cohort, Mahoaku, came running to him, excited to announce effective immediately he'd be helping him subjugate the magical girl, and this upset Mira into considering a way to get rid of him. Mahoaku came along, ecstatic to see Mira in Glass's meeting spot. He's apparently from a noble family, and the two have known each other for a long time since joining the org. Grabbing onto Mira, Fulma's eyes glimmered, truly desiring to help him out with anything. So Mira bopped his head, telling him to relax. Fulma could never doubt Mira, who was known as an evil lieutenant with an inhumane cruelty feared by all, never moved by emotion. Just the idea of Mira being overcome by a female enemy? Well, Fulma felt he'd need to see it to believe it. As Fulma continued to yap on and on singing Mira's praises, Mira then tossed a ball telling him to fetch. ultimately getting rid of him. Unfortunately, he returned quickly, wanting to shadow Mira's performance. Mira suspected this to be the King of Evil's way of keeping an eye on him. He didn't want to lose his credibility. Hearing Glass call out to him, he felt bad for her, but the time has come to settle things. Glass came running, panting out of breath. Her cuteness swayed his heart. However, still determined to defeat her, he proclaimed, "You're quite fast, magical girl."
I couldn't wait to see you, Mr. Lieutenant, so I ran here.
Glass replied, catching her breath. In response, Mira crushed the playground spring bouncer, knowing there wasn't a single moment that he didn't want to see her. However, remembering Fomal was still observing, Mira assured him this was one of his strategies, becoming amicable to make her drop her guard. His play was to not look at her, but oh man, the more he tried to turn away, the more he ended up staring. He really started to admire a certain part of her outfit. But reminded of Fomal's observation, Mira made the excuse that there was something hypnotic about Glass's eyes and warned Fomal to be careful. Then, to Mira's surprise, Glass had made him lunch as a thanks for all his help, to which he quickly told Fomal it was poisoned. Sitting down to eat, Mira contemplated how he could get out of this. No one's foolish enough to eat something they know could kill them, so he just needed an excuse to avoid eating it. However, when Glass noticed he'd been staring at his food long, she asked if he'd already eaten, so he quickly began scarfing it down. Fomal then cried out for his friend, remembering Mira never hesitated to burn whole villages alive, because a man who hesitates wasn't fit for the organization. Finishing the meal, he smiled at Fomal, telling him to think of poison only as a spice. Mira initially thought he'd have to eliminate Fomal, but since he was stupid and easy to convince things were gonna work out, he didn't have to. Except when Fomal mentioned wanting to be introduced to Glass. Mira's mission was as follows: explain his problematic relationship with Glass without raising suspicion, while maintaining his reputation, and make sure Fomal stays away from her. With Fomal getting introduced to Glass, he thanked her for always looking out for Mira. Hearing this, her eyes widened. She looked down, responding,
Mr. Lieutenant always treats me so well. He's very kind. I'm so grateful.
making Mira lose it, spelling kawaii into a tree. Fomal then introduced himself, but reaching to shake Glass's hand, Mira caught it, reminding Fomal he warned that touching her might fry his hand off. Enjoying chocolate cake together, Mira wiped some chocolate off of Glass's face. She thanked him, but this led to a flustering mood. Fomal thought he understood, so he wanted to try being amicable next. Touching Glass's face, he told her next time he'd love to bring her treats to make her happy. Turning to Mira, he was certain he got it right, but this only pissed Mira off. Coming back with a ton of drinks Mira had bought, Fomal felt like they didn't accomplish anything today. He apologized because he really was sincerely trying to help Mira's reputation. However, there was something else Mira wanted help with. As he tossed the ball, making Fomal chase after it. Gotcha. He was going to make Fomal search to the ends of the earth, looking for the ball he still had in his hand. Hearing Fomal left, Glass remarked him to be a very cheery person who she thought was wonderful. Mira then asked if she was interested in him, looking somewhat saddened. Noticing, her eyes widened in concern, and she asked if he was pouting. When he denied it, she added she was happy now, knowing one of his friends, his name. She was happy to know a little bit more about Mira than she did before. Mira then reached towards her for a romantic moment, which Fomal completely ruined, bursting out of the bushes having found a rabbit. We turn back time to a rainy day, where the cat familiar had taken in Glass' happiness. He'd always known Byakuya Mimori as the kind of girl who was about ready to give up, but she was also quick to catch on to things. Telling her to get more booze, he observed her to be someone who doesn't really get attached to anything. There were a few things that were a no-go for her though, such as displaying her body, but generally speaking, she'd never put up a fight. Not once. Urging her to work, he found her sitting in a closet. This helped her relax since she was afraid of thunder. Scrolling through a variety of treats, Mira was stumped about what presents to buy Glass lately. Then, one of his lackeys came in and brought him down into the dungeon, presenting Glass Happiness who had been captured and imprisoned. The lackeys were egging him on to torture her, so he smirked, saying it was time to begin. But first, he took them all out, as a way to give them examples for what he was going to do to her. Getting close to Glass, he said, "Ha ha ha ha, how about it? Scared of me yet?" then whispered, "You aren't injured, are you?" He was so shocked he saw red, but now with one less problem, he still had to deal with the security cameras taping him. Looking down at her body, he needed to calm down, he was losing focus. However, with Glass shaking in discomfort, she uttered,
Mr. Lieutenant, I have to go to the bathroom.
causing him to fall to his knees. He questioned if he was becoming some kind of pervert. He then went up to her, whispering she needed to hold it in, because he was going to find an opening for her to run. But knowing he'd get in trouble if she got away, she offered to let him do what needed to be done, only making him fall over again. This mission was going to be harder than he thought. Problem 1, she had no desire to run away. Problem 2, there were cameras. And problem 3, he kinda liked this situation. Then suddenly, Famal barged in, bringing the ball, which was a watermelon he thought Mira threw. This was the perfect opportunity for Mira. Famal could distract him and give Glass her chance to escape. But unfortunately, Famal misreads entirely, thinking Mira wanted to do things to Glass's body privately. So he left, telling Mira to treat her body with care. And now, Mira's breakthrough was gone. Now that the two were alone, the mood changed. He came in close to Glass, telling her face to face, "Since we're here, why don't we have a little fun? We've known each other for a little while now. Consider it a gesture of goodwill, something that can't be left on recording." And boom, the footage went out with all the lackeys blushing, hearing perverted sounds from Glass. Turns out she was moaning because he was tickling her. He was going to now have her pretend to faint. That way he could release her. She meekly asked,
Mr. Lieutenant, why are you helping me?
"I didn't like that you accepted defeat right from the start. You should want more than that." This gave her flashbacks to when she lived at the care facility, and their caretaker left her alone on a rainy day to go pick up the younger children. Even then, she hid in the closet and covered her ears at the sound of thunder. The younger children at the orphanage were in the same position as her, but she never felt she could speak out. She could never say what she wanted. She woke up in her room, with Mira sitting beside her. She had actually stopped breathing and passed out. He asked why she didn't say she was about to pass out, to which she responded she thought she could handle it. Mira was annoyed, getting up, telling her he had to handle a lot of paperwork because of what happened, telling her if something like this happened again, he wasn't sure he could protect her.
I know. I won't trouble you again. I'll be more ready next time.
Mira got angry, shouting in response, "That's not what I meant. Why are you?" The sound of thunder caused Glass to shriek. She was shaking, whimpering. Seeing it, Mira kept telling her he was leaving, and Glass kept responding she was okay. But then, lifting her head up, he saw her still there, still looking at him, and asked, "Do you want me to leave?"
Please stay with me.
She responded with tears dripping down her eyes. He smiled, coming down to sit by her, and in a gentle voice, he reminded Glass they were still enemies. With Byakuya Mimori being what this familiar considered a failure, he believed the new girl he'd take on to be better. The next day, enjoying tea under the bright sunlight, he believed his new magical girl had been blessed. Even though Hibana Kagari constantly went into a fit of rage, cursing incessantly, and seemingly unbefit to be a magical girl. Hibana is a 15-year-old girl who loves cute things, and could hardly believe she was chosen to become the magical girl of her dreams. So she consulted with her friends, Mr. Bunny and Mr. Bear, who encouraged her through her own ventriloquist pep talk. Mr. Bird was the one who made her a magical girl, and she was grateful for him. However, getting too embarrassed to express how she really felt, she assaulted him as a reflex. Then suddenly, things got serious as he sensed something, so it was time for work. Pulling her choker, she chased the vibrant crescent moon, transforming and adorning her black and blue magical girl outfit. Arriving onto the scene where the evil org's lackeys were harassing children, she snapped her staff in half and cursed over and over while beating the lackeys down with brass knuckles, standing atop a pile of corpses. In the evening, she hissed like a wild animal from an earlier skirmish. She had defeated a bunch of slimes with her magic, but wasn't prepared for the might of Lieutenant Shun Miller, who descended and instantly eliminated her with his flames. Back in his office, he felt some remorse having had to kill one of Glass's associates, but he had to do it to maintain his reputation. Hibana woke up screaming from the nightmare of the flame, and seeing her shaking from the pain, Mr. Bird came to her side, apologizing for putting her in harm's way. It was now, though, he decided to elaborate the structure of magical girls to her. First, as a familiar, he was a messenger of God sent from heaven to the earth, entrusted with a message. You could think of him as an angel. Among humans, they choose girls of pure mind and body, and bestow them magical girl powers. There were many familiars, and thus many magical girls. He truly believed she had what it takes to become the best, but didn't want her to risk her life to prove it. She responded that even if someone better than her came along, she'd still do it, because she admired magical girls. It's what she wanted. He then held her hand and thanked her for her work, to which she lightly responded, "Fuck," as her way of affirmation. The two were going to stand and fight together. Working her construction job, Glass thought it had been a while since she'd seen Mira. It's not like they promised to meet every day, but she's been thinking about him every day. Back in his office, Famal had found the ball Mira had thrown, but this was clearly an armadillo. Mira's rage was growing with all the distracting talk, so the lackeys pulled Famal out. Mira couldn't get his work done with his regretful feelings, so he thought it was best he see Glass again to receive his judgment.
Mr. Lieutenant, I haven't seen you lately. I was getting worried.
You know, don't you, that I disposed of one of your magical girl comrades?
Huh? I have comrades?
Mira was surprised, learning she'd never interacted with any other magical girls. He questioned if she even knew there were others, but to her, she plainly commented it seems they were having bad times.
Am I a heartless person? I heard that you had an exchange with another magical girl, but I'm just relieved that you came back to me safely.
Hearing this, Mira came in to hold her close. She questioned why, but he blamed her for saying it like that, and melting his heart. Then suddenly, Hibana appeared, cursing as per usual but ready to kill Mira. He was surprised she was still alive, but Glass knew who this girl was? Glass recognized the girl, since they had gone to elementary school together. Mira could have never expected Glass to have known another magical girl in her personal life, and even though she was shaking to her core with fear, she assured Mira Hibana was her friend. However, she only had memories of Hibana cursing and violently attacking her.
Byakuya, I never thought I'd meet you here, my friend!
The joyful reunion was met with Hibana slugging Glass and gnawing at her head. They say women have complicated relationships, but this was certainly something else. Then, Mr. Bird arrived at the scene, commanding Mira to get away from them. He was firm in his belief that Glass was a failure as a magical girl, declaring Hibana much more fitting, although with her hissing like some kind of rabid animal, I'm not sure anyone else would agree. Mr. Bird commanded Glass to concede her post as a magical girl.
Does that mean I'm fired? I'm sorry I wasn't better at my job. I learned a lot while I was here. Who will be taking my place? I really would like to keep my job. I started it because it would fit my lifestyle, and I wanted the responsibility. So, could you at least tell me why?
Mr. Bird answered it's because she fell in love with the evil lieutenant, bringing Glass to a steamy blush.
Love?
Mr. Bird wanted her to decide. Would she join Mira or fight evil with Hibana? Who would she choose?
Who am I going to choose? Mr. Lieutenant? Or Hibana?
She was shaking, meekly uttering her choice in Mira. Then Hibana came to her defense, asking why Byakuya had to stop being a magical girl. She questioned what they were even fighting for, and when Mr. Bird tried to answer for humanity, she told him it was wrong, and instead, they were fighting for love.
Your priorities are all wrong if you're trying to break them up, cause that's just f***ed up!
Mr. Bird was in shock, falling to his knees, realizing he lost sight of what's important being wrapped up in fulfilling his role. He accepted his fault, knowing peace was impossible without love. Even so, this didn't mean he'd respect Byakuya Mimori, but instead wanted her to prove she was on Hibana's side, and to never forget her love. Back at her place, Glass bowed, thanking Mira for always being so kind to her. He thought nothing of it. He just didn't anticipate them being interrupted like that, but wonders if he misunderstood something. When she asked what he meant, he looked away while answering, like, that you love me. It was brought up earlier. Glass began to shake.
You misunderstood?
And hearing this, Mira crushed a pole, wondering if she was being serious. He needed to know the truth in her words, otherwise he wouldn't be able to sleep tonight.
Was it really a misunderstanding? But I wouldn't misunderstand you if you like this video and subscribe to the channel. Here at ComfyTea's Shoujo Weekly, he's got plenty of fun stories involving romance, action, and hot guys. So come on, joining is free. Subscribe to the tea.
The cat familiar arrived where Mr. Bird was waiting for a summons. The two bickered as Mr. Bird was quite chivalrous and upstanding, in contrast to the cat who was sarcastic and vulgar. Eventually, with the two getting pulled up to heaven and taking on their true forms, Mr. Bird could hardly believe they were both messengers of God. He could never respect the cat. On a rainy day, the cat finally returned from his summons, finding Mira telling Glass this was the end, because everything was about to turn black. She knew she was done for, since she couldn't put any of her white pieces down in their game of Go. The cat interrupted, questioning if they knew something was wrong here. He could ignore all of their secret meetings outside, but this wasn't the place for the two of them to flirt. Mira denied this, saying they were clearly at odds playing their game. However, the cat could clearly tell he was just justifying their relationship. The doorbell rang, and that's when Mr. Bird appeared, ready to see whose magical girl was better. However, the cat quickly shut the door, so Mr. Bird forced his way back in. Seeing Mira, Mr. Bird was surprised to find him in this crammed, old, shabby apartment. But this was just Glass's home. Mr. Bird was even more shocked because this place was no bigger than a storage room at Hibana's residence. Hibana then made her entrance with glee, attacking Glass as one would expect. The bird and cat then started arguing over whose girl was better, and with Mira understanding they were doing value propositions on their magical girls, this might be a good chance to learn something about them. Mr. Bird brought up how Hibana's admired magical girls since she was little, while the cat raised up Byakuya's life depended on it. They continued to argue over whose girl was cuter, until Mr. Bird used his trump card. That Glass's facial expressions were non-existent. This made her self-conscious, but it didn't seem to matter to Mira. Coming home one day, the cat familiar had an easy job offer for Glass. All she had to do was carry shabu shabu, a type of Japanese hot pot. The catch? She couldn't wear underwear? This comment was right. This guy is the real evil villain. She questions why, and he basically tries to manipulate her, saying it'd be weird if she was the only one wearing undies when no one else was. This man is sick. She turns the job down, completely deflecting the conversation to pickles made with rub, offering to serve them for dinner tonight. It'll be their only side dish, since money's tight this month. His social outings ate most of their budget, although he argued he just had to, given there'd be an end-of-year party and Christmas. Speaking of Christmas, at the evil organization's lair, Mira was doing his own kind of prepping, looking for gifts to get Glass. Then, two of his cohorts, Alcyon, the femboy, and Spica, the legal lolly, yes, this is what they called each other, came to chime in on what gifts Mira should get a girl. Spica argued she may look like a child, but she's a full-grown woman on the inside. So, Alcyon added her insides might be more like her outsides, causing their other cohort, Bellatrix, to get flustered, misreading the situation as spicy. When they noticed her, they explained to Bellatrix that Mira was picking out a present for his girlfriend. However, he denied this, telling them not to get the wrong idea, claiming he was trying to find a gift for a lady friend of his. Bella was struck, thinking it could possibly be for her. Alcyon and Spica explained certain gifts have certain meanings, like buying the girl lipstick could mean he wants a kiss. A necklace could come off as, I want to tie you down, and buying clothes could come off as, he wants to strip them off, only adding to the wild delusional fantasies Bella was having. She imagined him buying her an assortment of presents, symbolizing wanting all of her. Apparently her imagination became too wild, so she ran off. With Glass out shopping with Cat in the Christmas-decorated district, they run into Mr. Bird and Hibana. The two angels begin their bickering, while Hibana jumps in for a violent love tackle. Hibana's apparently here because she wanted to make Glass dessert for Christmas, so they were getting ingredients, while Glass and Cat were here for freebies, because they're poor. They're here for okra and bread crust. With Glass offering some sweetened bread crusts to Hibana, Mr. Bird voted against it, thinking the budget crusts might hurt Hibana's stomach. This made the cat and bird get into another argument, where the cat once again argues Glass's poor upbringing is compensated by the perverted situations he puts her in. Hibana stops everyone, telling them the most important ingredient for a meal comes from the heart, and they shouldn't be arguing over which girl is the better cook. Then, everyone clapped. Running in from another job where she had to be a mascot, Glass trips right in front of Mira, losing her costume head. With Mira asking if she had come here on her break, Glass replied,
I wanted to see you, even if it's only for a little while.
Making him freak out because she was just too cute. There wasn't too much time though, so he had to cut to the chase, asking if she was free on the 24th and 25th. Unfortunately for him, she was working Christmas for extra pay. She could tell he was disappointed, so she promised if she worked hard, she could get the evening off, and they could have cake together. They stared at each other eye to eye, and even though he was going with a, I'm a busy guy, but since an old enemy is calling for me, I suppose I could make time, he was eager to be with her. Looking down, she then said,
Can I say something selfish?
He had no problems with it, so she asked him to eat dinner with her. He accepted, but thought there was no need for her to ask so intently. They've had dinner plenty of times together.
I guess so. It's Christmas, though. Usually I don't even think about it, but this year, I found myself wanting to spend time with you.
Mira's glasses completely shattered. He was losing his mind over the thought of spending Christmas night with her. His brain couldn't comprehend, but he calmed down, accepting her invitation to eat dinner and spend time at her place. We turned to Glass serving cake for her Christmas gig. It's a little chilly, so Mira showed up at the convenient time to give her his jacket, and aww, he brought her a bouquet as well. Learning Glass had to stay longer at work until all the cakes were sold, Mira offered to buy every single one of them with his black card, which worked out since now the evil orc can enjoy them all, freeing Glass. The two then decided to stop and shop together, and the idea of them acting like a married couple caused Mira's glasses to shatter. Next, they went by the lottery, where Glass wanted the chance to win a year's worth of rice. With her only winning participation tissues, Mira went up to one of the clerks, offering to buy enough vouchers to win the rice prize for her. Back at her place, Mira became mesmerized seeing Glass in an apron. He got ready to help with the cooking, but when Glass brought out the ground beef for hamburger steaks, she got a little flustered, with Mira taking notice of the heart-shaped one. He was shaking, contemplating if the heart was possibly for him, trying to gaslight himself. After all, girls send hearts in texts all the time. Hearts must mean absolutely nothing. Was it just a silly symbol? He couldn't wrap his head around it. He was surprised to see her smiling today. She then brought up how they went shopping together and now they're standing in the kitchen together as well. Mira knew they were supposed to be enemies, but spending time together with such peace, it was like they were newlyweds. During dinner time, Mira's heart was beating. Would he be receiving the star-shaped patty or the heart-shaped one? And oh boy, his heart exploded seeing the heart shape. The taste was out of this world. Afterwards, while drinking tea, Mira offered to get her some kind of gift in return for the meal. That's when Glass nervously requested he call her by her first name, Byakuya. Another glasses-shattering event for him. And this guy has a fresh pair ready to swap out every time. He had her repeat what she asked, causing the same thing to happen, and he wondered if this was her strategy to target his will to fight and destroy all reasoning. No matter what though, he thought she was adorable. The reason for her request was, for the day, she didn't want to be his enemy. She didn't want to be a magical girl. She just wanted to be Byakuya. He called her by name, which pleased her, but now he was turning the same thing in her direction. So, they called each other's names over and over to each other non-stop. The cat was not happy with their secret love affair though. He even began to mock their name calling Mira-san and Byakuya-san, to which he thought was pathetic. Mira calmed himself, knowing they just got caught, but exploded once again seeing the hamburger shape Glass brought for the cat wasn't heart-shaped like his. Then, Mr. Bird barged in with a Merry Christmas, and Hibana came out saying she baked apple pies while breaking Glass's back. Back at the evil org, everyone was celebrating from all the refreshments Mira had bought them. Returning to the finished party, Hibana tucked in Mr. Bird. Then, viewing Glass and Mira saying their goodbyes for the evening, snow began to fall. To deter her from the cold, Mira wrapped a scarf around Glass's neck, wishing her a Merry Christmas as he called her name. On the days Glass was with Mr. Familiar, she made their breakfast in the morning. Then, she wakes him up. However, this morning, he grabbed her to sleep in, more intimately. Just another day of her getting harassed by him. Later in the day, the cat wanted a meeting with her, where he was going to teach Glass how to be more magic girl-like. He gave a Happy, happy, happiness! With my unhappy power, I will happily cast you into hapless oblivion. But she didn't receive this too well. She tried to imitate him, doing it perfectly, which only caused him to break out in laughter. That's what he loved about her. Even if she didn't want to do it, she always gave her all. He then presented the next topic, which was changes to her outfit. And notice by outfit 4, it seemed to be less, and by outfit 5, it was completely perverted. She tried to resist, but that's when the cat pulled his ace in the hole. He told Glass the evil lieutenant was definitely a boob guy, which took her aback. Back at the evil org, the lieutenants were organizing their 17th annual end-of-year party. The members had mixed feelings, however, this was serious, because their king was looking forward to it. It's only an end-of-year party in name. Rather, it's more like an unholy feast, because it's a party for the king of evil, by the king of evil, and all for his entertainment. They'll have to act as his court jesters until every last drop of their strength and pride is wrung dry. With Mira being the event organizer, though, he wouldn't be in the mix of it like his cohorts. Fomal was really the only one excited, while everyone else was nervous. But Mira had it all in the bag. This year, they do the same as last. The no-laughing evil organization party. Saddlesuit began having flashbacks being beaten during last year's party. Many of the members didn't want to repeat those events. Fomal thought things would be stale if things went the same though, so he suggested Mira really get in, only prompting Mira to distract the golden retriever boy with the ball, per usual. The members questioned Bella's stance, but she was neutral to it on the outside. On the inside, she found the beatings obscene, vexing, and arousing. She vaguely recalled something so obscene, I don't even want to describe it because she's a freak. Especially remembering it was done by Mira's orders. Despite the back and forth discussion, Betelgeuse had a different theme for the party. Slippery sumo. Later, we see Glass working her construction job until the evening, and then shopping for dinner ingredients on her way home. She arrived back to see the cat knocked out after having relaxed all day. After the cat woke up, they decided to go to a bathhouse, and stepping out after the refreshing bath, Glass saw a little girl run up to her parents. She had a bit of longing for parental love of her own. The cat came out in his angelic form, and while the two headed home, he gave her a cold milk for refreshment. These moments were the closest she felt to having a parent in her life. And while the two enjoyed dinner, she expressed that their time together felt familial to her, although the cat told her it wasn't like that at all, and claimed the soup she made was watery. Happy New Year to them. On a particular night, Glass was cowering in her futon with fear, as a disturbing creature crept closer. With tears in her eyes, she squeezed her napkins tightly. Back at the Evil Org headquarters, Speaker was teasing Mira for being infatuated with the magical girl, despite him denying it. She wondered how he answered in this personality test, while Alcyone was there to add that even the smartest people slip up sometimes. According to the test Mira took, the first 4-letter word that came to his mind was life, and the second was love, meaning Mira's life was perfect, but perhaps he was slipping in love. With Bella now here, Speaker decided to read a scenario from the test. You're riding in a spaceship. After some trouble, you crash land on a planet. They wanted to know Bella's response to this, to which she answers, I thought that was the end for me, having barely escaped. They then want Mira's answer next, which turns out to be logical, asking, where do we go from here? Then, Alcyone answers, I'd want to be with Speaker, making her red and gushing. He was just joking though and wanted to see her reaction after. The word after triggered something perverted in Bellatrix's mind, involving Mira, of course. He was none the wiser though, thanks to all the stupid talk he had with his cohorts. He was late for his meeting with Glass. He sat down, checking his watch. It was unusual for Glass to be late, but still, he waited through the evening about 4 hours later. She didn't come this day, and it's not like they planned to meet every day. Perhaps she was working on a strategy behind closed doors. If so, he wanted to investigate. He found her outside, shaking and teary-eyed. She got up quickly and ran to him, doing critical damage to his heart. She was so cute, his brain couldn't keep up with it. And lifting up her head, she told him she missed him and was so glad he was here. He took another critical hit and decided to take a deep breath. She told him since Mr. Familiar wasn't around, she didn't want to be left alone tonight. She begged Mira to stay with her, making him drop his treats in astonishment. He asked her if she was ready to throw away everything, knowing what she was asking for. He wondered if she'd given up on her mission and the world she grew up in just to be with him. For her, that was a yes. Affordable housing was rare, but it's not worth it since she was scared of ghosts. He had a headache realizing she was tortured by the idea her apartment was haunted. Looking around, it certainly gave that vibe. She tried to ignore the ghost at first, because it hadn't caused her any direct harm. But lately, all throughout the night, it's like it wanted Glass to give it something. Because of that, she hasn't been able to sleep well. But rent was only 9,000 yen, the equivalent of $63 right now as of this video, so she had been willing to put up with the torture. Mira didn't want to let her stay here. He felt she should be living somewhere cheap, but well-lit and warm. Oh no! In his mind, he's imagining coming home to her. Look above the doorbell! It has their names on it. He's fantasizing about her asking if he'd like a bath, dinner, or her. It was too much for his mental. Glass was never scared of ghosts before, until the cat brought up himself and Mira, both being supernatural beings. What was scary to Mira, though, was how cute Glass was. She then squeezed onto him tightly, hearing a rattling sound. So, he offered to stay the night. They turned the lights out, and seeing Mira from behind, Glass reached out for him. Mira wondered how he could possibly sleep like this, but Glass, on the other hand, was so grateful for him. He listened to her selfish requests, and he said kind things to her. She wondered if he spoiled her enough. He quickly got up, telling her she should have told him she was scared before choosing to sit outside by herself. He wanted to tell her no matter what, he'd always be there for her. However, she was already fast asleep. Catching himself now, he had to recalibrate to the answer he should have, instead as her enemy, believing he should be the one to defeat her. Later, the cat was able to purge the apartment with his sacred powers. Mira beat the life out of him, asking why he didn't do it sooner, and we learned it was a selfish ploy of the cat wanting to move to a place with a real bathtub. Being a magical girl and saving the world is something of a dream job. Byakuya just happened to become one. She's called Glass Happiness, being a magical girl with the power to counter misfortune. Whenever she meets Mr. Lieutenant at the park, he's always the first one to see her. However, today, it's unusual, but he hadn't noticed her. She wondered what kind of face he'd make if she surprised him. She felt excitement, wanting to see it. Her intention was to sneak up and cover his eyes. However, she's too short. She felt dejected, unable to see his face in surprise. We then moved to her showing Mira the happy, happy, happiness catchphrase the cat taught her, which broke him out into laughter, pretty much the same way the cat had. Seeing him this way gave Glass a look of wonder. She didn't know seeing him smile could make her feel so happy. It was embarrassing for her, but seeing it was worth it. She wanted to try harder next time, but was surprised to learn he seriously wanted her to do it again 3 more times. She didn't want to do it anymore, despite him claiming it was for research purposes. She didn't know he could be so mean to her, since he was kind even when he teased her a lot. While enjoying their treats, Mira inquired about Glass's magic. She remembered her training days when the cat would lock her in a room with a sadistic woman who could enact misfortune on her. That way, Glass could learn a technique called happiness conversion. She wanted to demonstrate it for Mira, but she needed him to do something that made her unhappy. We turned to earlier that day in Mira's perspective. The evil lieutenant? He's considered the brains of the evil organization and known far and wide for his cold-heartedness. However, not many know his true nature. At the sweets shop, he chose the sheep-looking dessert because it looked just like Glass. He's usually the one calling out to her when they meet in the park, so this time, he pretended not to notice her. He assured himself that this by no means implied he was desperate for her to notice him more or anything. He sensed her getting closer, wondering if she was trying to approach slowly in an attempt to cover his eyes. He could sense her reaching, but went into shock realizing she couldn't reach. He wanted to award her for being the cutest and cleverest. Learning she had a new catchphrase, he demanded to hear it, being the enemy standing in her way. And with her delivering, he began to gush, seeing it as the cutest, most pathetic thing ever. Oh, he just wanted to make her happy. Recollecting himself, he assessed the fact that he obtained another piece of data on magical girls. Not quite sure how useful it'd be though. Even so, a man in his position couldn't afford to overlook even the tiniest detail, which is why he had her do it 3 more times. After the part where she told him how kind he was, despite teasing her, his glasses shattered with his desire to make her do more embarrassing things. Returned to where they had desserts, and him asking about her magic. There was happiness, happiness, a technique that made her invincible, however, it only lasted 9 seconds. Then, happiness conversion, a buff that turns all misfortune into positivity. For it to work, she needed Mira to do something to make her unhappy, such as hitting her, but he refused, instead accepting the offer to lightly pinch her. Mira went for her cheeks, which felt soft like marshmallows, white and puffy. However, she didn't feel like her buff was working. He then tried pinching her waist, and hearing Glass make weird noises, he wondered if her magic was awakening something else within him. Mira wanted to stop before it was too late. Seeing her off, Glass apologized for being unable to show off any of her magic. She told him it was hard to show her magic because she liked being touched by his big hands, and she admitted it was hard for her to be unhappy with them. He lost it because her honesty was so good and so bad for him. There was no room for misunderstandings here. Glass looked down, wishing she could have shown him her magic. She then looked up, telling him she'd see him tomorrow. Walking upstairs, she only thought of the sweet treats, Mr. Lieutenant's smile, and his hands, while Mira thought about how she's had him losing his mind ever since the two had met. Even though he's supposed to be the cold-hearted, evil lieutenant, even though she was the magical girl of misfortune, they'd say, "See you tomorrow," again today as they part. Glass felt all the happiness in the world when she was with Mr. Lieutenant. As Mira wished her goodnight, Glass quickly turned to see him walking away and wished him the same. The days they had, they were helpless against the happiness they felt. This day was just like any other day for Glass. The familiar was relaxing while smoking on the roof. Hibana gave really cute desserts to Mr. Bird while socking him in the face. The evil cohorts were doing their usual shtick and banter, but wondered where Mira was. He was where we'd expect him to be, setting flowers down on the park table, waiting as his lovely magical girl descended to meet him. What a cute ending to this series. Sadly, with the author Kokoa Fujiwara having passed in 2015, rest in peace, there's not really ever going to be more content for this. If you're interested though, the manga does take a different approach to how a lot of events happened, so if you're hungry for more, you can read that. Subscribe to the channel, also watch this next video.
It's me, bun-mii.
And ComfyTea.
We'll see you all in the next one.